Today you are going to learn about correlation. Correlation is a relationship between variables. Now we have different types of correlation, and if I begin with number one, positive correlation, as you can see in this graph, this is like x-axis and you have this y-axis. Now the x variable, so the relation is between x and y, right? Now if I grab this point and check out the coordinates, I have for my x it is 1 and for my y it is also 1. Now as I increase the value of x, now let's check out for another points. Now as I check out this point, I see that my x has increased, and similarly when I check for my variable y, from 1 it has increased, right? So you see that where the points of y also increased. Now if I check this point as well, you see that there is this increase in x point and as well as this y. So this is the same pattern for all the other points. Hence the points here, we notice that the variable x increases as well as the y along with your y. So hence this type is known as positive correlation. Now it goes with the same meaning, the changes has to be same. So if x is increasing, your y is also increasing. That means the other way around, right? You just don't have increase, right? If your x decreases, that means for it to be positive correlation, what should it be? Your y should also decrease. Yes. So this is known as positive correlation. Now the number two is negative correlation, and as you see out here, what happens is that as the value of x increases, the value of y decreases. So here, unlike your positive correlation, the opposite thing happens. So when your x increases, as your x is increasing from the point 0 to 1, 1 to 2, so as your x increases, so for example if I pick this point here, x is initially 2, whereas your y seems to be around 4.5, right? Now if I pick the later point, it seems that the x value is 3, whereas the y coordinate is 4. So what is happening out here is, when I compare with the previous point here, it seems like your x is increasing while your y is decreasing. So increase and decrease is happening opposite, right? So hence this is known as negative correlation, which means the other way would be, if your x is decreasing, for your negative correlation, what do you think your y what should happen to y? So opposite, right? So that means y should increase. So if this is so, then it is known as negative correlation. Now we have no correlation. So when do we say that there's no relationship between x and y? It's when you have this kind of graph. So if you notice here, are you able to see that when your x is increasing, your y is decreasing? Or are you able to see that when your x is decreasing, your y is decreasing? So check out. Take a moment and check out. So if you study carefully, study each point here, you won't be able to judge that. So similarly, this graph also shows the same thing. Hence, the data set appears to be scattered. So the change in one variable does not affect the other. Then there exists no relation, meaning no correlation. Now, so perfect correlation, when do we say it's perfect? So if you have been observant in the previous graphs, you see that the line of best fit, this line of best fit is just close to the points, right? But in this case it is not. The points are on the line. So this is called perfect correlation. So when the change in variable are exactly proportional, so this is important. If this proportional changes are in the same direction here, then it is perfect positive correlation. So to be perfect positive, it has to be in the same direction. There is a perfect positive correlation, and if it is in opposite direction, so what if it is in opposite direction? That means it is negative correlation. So on the line, same proportional means perfect correlation. But when will it be positive? When it is in the same direction. X increase, Y increase, or X decrease, Y decrease. When do we have negative perfect correlation? When it is in the opposite direction, which means when X is increasing, Y is decreasing, or when X is decreasing, Y is increasing. The Culperson's here coefficient of correlation is a measure of degree of linear relationship between two variables, and it is denoted by R or by this symbol here. And the correlation coefficient always lies in between -1 to +1. So if your R is in between like 0 to +1, it is called as positive correlation. So this part is known as positive correlation. Now you can make up, right? Now what would be the correlation if it lies between 0 to -1? Yes, absolutely correct. It should be negative correlation, right? Now interpretation of correlation coefficient. So the range here, so if it is from 0 to +1, it is positive correlation. Now when it is 0, it is no correlation. When it is less than 0.5, so 0 to 0.5 in between, it's known as low correlation. 0.5 to 0.699 moderate correlation, 0.7 to 0.99 high correlation, and perfect is for +1. Now if you understand this, the negative correlation you would understand, right? So which means if it is from 0 to -1, so what would be from 0 to -0.5? So in between this, it would fall low negative correlation, right? From -0.45 to 0.699, which is also negative, would be moderate. Similarly, if you have -0.7 to 0.99, which is also negative, it would be high correlation, and in your -1, it would be perfect negative correlation. So now a Culperson's coefficient is given by, so your R will be equal to this formula here. So this is one formula, but you need to stick with this. No, because you can do some simplification here. Here you can see there's fractions involved, right? So if you want to remove this fraction or the denominator here, you can follow up with this formula. Now example, so you are asked to calculate Culperson's correlation coefficient, so between English and Tsongkha, obtained by 5 students. So let's see, 1 2 3 4 5. So these are the 5 marks of the 5 students in English and in Tsongkha. So how would you find the solution? So first you need to get the formula. So according to the formula, what is needed? So if you see this symbol here, it means summation. Okay, so this symbol is known as summation here. So summation means you need to add. So add, okay? So sum up according to the formula. So you have x and y given from the question, so you need to find, so you need to sum up what? You need to sum up xy, so which means first column should be your xy column. Then according to your formula, okay, so summation of x, so which means the value of x you need to add, then only you will be getting summation of x. So you are summing up all the values of x. So this is how it is. Similarly, summation of y means you are summing up all the value of y. So these are the values of y. You need to add all the value. So with this idea, you have x squared here. So you need to sum up what? You need to sum up all the values of x squared. You need to sum up x then raised to 2. So it's already done. You need to sum up the values of y squared. So another column should be created for y squared. So this is how you need to create extra tables according to the formula. Okay, so now so xy, you just have to multiply x times y. Yeah, then you need to get x squared, meaning the value of x here is 5, so 5 times 5 is 25. So next y squared, then you need to sum up all the values, put it in the value formula, and finally you got negative. So negative here sign means it is a negative correlation. Look at the range 0.56. So if you look back, you remember that it falls in the moderate, right? Moderate, negative moderate correlation. Now you have another question here. So this is now for 10 students. So by the way, here in this case you have in the formula n. Now what do you think is n? N represents the number of items. So you're not going to calculate x and y separately, but since if you remember, this actually question was, this were the marks of 5 students, so which means how many items you have. So 1 2 3 4 5, so 5. Okay, similarly here in this case 10 students, so this now these questions are here for you to practice. Okay, so I hope you do it well. Before you check out for question number 4, I just want you to remember your previous knowledge. Okay, what do you mean by mean in maths? So it's denoted by x bar here. So mean means in layman's term average, right? So if you want to find the mean, it means sum of all items. So sum of all items divided by number of items. So how many items are there? So if I represent this in a formula, so x bar, which means your mean, is equal to, so sum in math is denoted by a summation here, summation of all items. So summation of all x items divided by number of items is small n, right? So this is for the ungrouped data practice question for you. So you just need to apply the formula. And some more questions here. Refer your textbook and do this question. If you can see, all the data are given in your question, so you just have to fill in. So how to go about when you're asked to find the number of items, so which means you're in, right? Now you have this formula here. Correlation is equal to summation of x, y divided by n times sigma x, sigma y here. Sigma for x variable, x values raised to 2 is equal to, so you have this specified formula which you need to remember here. Now about the sigma here, it is a standard deviation, so which you not have to learn for now. For now you just have to remember these formulas which exist, like where to use this formula. For example, this question here, if you can look at this question, it says given r is equal to 0.5, so correlation is given, summation of x, y is given, your sigma y is given, summation of x raised to 2 is given, find the number of items. So the question is finding number of items, which means, so here if this was the question asked, so what you need to do is you need to grab the formula. So your r correlation is also equal to summation of x, y over, you have number of items times standard deviation sigma x, sigma y here. So according to the formula you have, so according to the formula here, if I apply the formula, it says 0.5 is equal to sigma x, summation of x, y is 120 over your n is not given, so n times sigma x. So sigma x here would be, so since we don't know what is sigma x, but we at least know the formula here, right? So this is summation of x squared, which is 90 over n, 90 over n. Then so sigma x, but here it is sigma x squared. So to remove the square root on both sides, so which means this is square root of this value here, and sigma y is given as 8. Now we just have to shift the value. So you have first of all 0. So I better try to simplify. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 1 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so 8, 5 is 40. Then if I square on both sides, just to remove the square root, square on both sides, I have 0.5 whole square is equal to 15 whole square over n square. Then the square root will get cancelled, leaving behind 90 over n. Then if I open up this, n double n will get cancelled, so you have 0.5 square times 90n equals to 15 square. So it should be like 225 over 0.5 square times 90, which will give you n. So you have 225 divided by 0.5 square times 90, so which is equal to 10. So your n number of items is equal to 10.